Hello and welcome to Match Made in 7, a new podcast series from Northeast-based comedy collective Your Aunt Fanny. During one particularly painful Megabus journey last year, 7 Fannies had the sudden realisation there were also 7 deadly sins. Megabus madness or cosmic coincidence. In this debut series, we will hilariously probe each of the 7 deadly sins and what it means to be a young woman or non-binary person partial to one or more of them. Settle in for a pairing of original comedy and frank chat as we invite you into our Fanny universe, where everyone is in on the joke. Before we start, a heads up, this episode will contain strong language, so don't listen to it in the car with your kids in the back, unless you're a massive laugh. Please be aware that this episode will also contain discussions surrounding eating disorders. Episode 3, Gluttony. Hello.
Hello.
Hiya.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Lydia, and I'm hosting today. And I am joined today by
Katie. Brogan.
Izzy.
We're all very excited to be here. So yeah, today we're talking about gluttony. So the dictionary definition of gluttony is habitual greed or excess in eating. And the word gluttony itself comes from the Latin, to gulp down or to swallow.
Oh.
Cheeky.
Wait.
And the Bible sort of talks about it as being excessive eating, drinking, and indulgence. As well, we're also talking about greed, and I think gluttony and greed are similar, but also quite different. So I think the way I sort of look at them is greed is kind of more about money and wealth and possessions and wanting, whereas I think gluttony is more about food, drinking, and excess. I think greed's kind of more about wanting, and gluttony is more the action of doing it. So I think it's just good to kind of have that contrast just in our heads.
Yeah.
Interestingly, like when I was looking into it and into kind of the biblical context of it, I went to Catholic school, so
So did I.
oh, and Iz did as well. Oh, we went to the same school.
We did.
Anyway. And yeah, so when looking into the Bible, it talked a lot about how Eve ate the apple. And I didn't realise, but that's such a moment of like a big thing.
Yeah.
Cultural event.
Quite pivotal in the Christian movement.
A big gold catalyst. And it's and that sort of event is a lot of like how religion oppresses women, because Eve's sort of the reason we're all in this sinful world.
God damn it.
What a slut.
Christy. Eating an apple, fat bitch. As someone who didn't have any kind of religion in my childhood at all, I don't really know the crack. Other than, I think, is it vague, like generally that they were happy. And then a snake said, you can't eat this apple, but then she did.
Pretty much. So
And then they were unhappy.
yeah.
Right.
Do you know what a good thing to watch is? Because I'm the same, and I watched Good Omens with David Tennant and Michael Sheen, and the opening episode sets that all up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's almost like religion for dummies.
Oh, handy.
Yeah, so if you're curious, go watch Good Omens.
Go watch Good Omens.
Where gluttony all started.
Yeah. If you don't want to watch Good Omens, they were basically in this Garden of Eden.
Read the Bible.
It was, like, it was almost this perfect world, and like they were walking around naked and just all having a good time with the animals and stuff, and it was all bants, and then and then this snake tempts Eve to eat the apple, and she did. And then God was like, you can eat anything in the garden, just not from that tree. And then the snake was like, Pet, do you want to eat from this tree? And she was like, I go on. And then
You always want what you can't have.
she does, doesn't she?
And women have been apologising ever since.
Yes. Correct.
Pretty much, yeah. Blame Eve.
Hashtag blame Eve. We're going to start that from today. We're going to make badges.
Forget killing Eve, blame Eve. Yeah. So that's kind of where gluttony began. I think my personal relationship with gluttony is quite a strange one. I feel, I think everyone has a strange relationship with food and with excess, overconsumption and indulgent. But I think especially food, everyone has quite personal relationships with food that I think change over time and kind of change with culture and as we learn more about food and eating behaviour and things. I can be very gluttonous. Like I could sit with, do you know those bags of cookies you get? You can get like 4 or 5. I really could just sit with one of them and eat the whole thing. I really struggle with just having 1 or 2 and like, I'm better now. Better now.
My mum, we had a rule in our house that there could be no open packets of biscuits because as soon as one was open, that was it. The rest was gone. And I, to this day, follow that rule by opening a packet of chocolate digestive biscuits and eating the whole packet. And I have no guilt or shame about that.
I have a conspiracy that things like Pringles and cookies and anything else that tastes quite nice, the design of them has been changed and it's been added, and it's been added with like some sort of addictive substance where
crack.
Like crack. But it's where like the manufacturers want you to eat the whole thing so that you can get out and buy the next bag or box of it. So they want you, that's the thing. They don't want you to have one. They want you to eat it all so that you can get the next one.
Yeah.
There you go. You're welcome.
Yeah, I think like when I think of gluttony, the first thing that comes to my head is Nigella. And I think that is a really positive image to have when you think of gluttony. And I think of her in the last TV series she did where she made toast and she put the toast in the toaster and then the second it came out of the toaster, she buttered it. So it melted and then she left it for 10 minutes to go cold and she came back to it and then put another layer of butter on. Wow. And I think like, who has that kind of time? But also I just think that is beautiful. And then she just eats it slowly in our lovely little, on our terrace with all of our fairy lights and then she's so beautiful with her glossy hair and her big cleavage and stuff. And I'm just like, that's what gluttony is. I'm in. I'm all about it. That's really lovely. So I think there's like such a lovely sensual side to gluttony. I don't know if that is because she gives herself permission to do that. Whereas like if she was buttering her toast twice and was crying about it, thinking she was a disgrace, then that would be a totally different thing because it's totally her choice and she's like indulgent and loving life. It's just beautiful to watch.
I think enjoying food is just so wonderful as well. I've recently broken up with my partner and as you'll know, like you just don't eat for a little while, which isn't like me because I quite like eating. And food doesn't like taste nice, you know, like, and you know, when people have COVID and stuff, I think the idea of like not being able to taste things just sounds horrid, doesn't it? And so then we went for a meal at Fannies Italian restaurant in Newcastle. It's really wonderful. And I felt when I was there, because the food is so flavourful and so indulgent and rich, I was just like, oh, I can enjoy food again. And like it was a really a nice moment to be able to be like, oh, I love this. I really love this.
I think I thought not being able to eat when you were sad was a myth until I felt it. And I remember being really anxious a few years ago, not being able to eat and losing quite a bit of weight. And I always thought like the dream. But then when it actually happened, it's fucking horrible. Feeling sick all the time and food tasting like cardboard in your mouth and not being able to swallow it, and you dream of like the days when you used to like eat a bacon sandwich and really enjoy it, and it being really comforting. And I think years later I still really appreciate food still tasting nice, food being nice again after that time when I was too sad to eat.
I feel like you do go through like a bit of a phase when you're younger of wanting to be like thin or just like not eat, and it's like seen as like a big thing that like you have a small portion or whatever. But for me, like it was the opposite, because I feel like I was grown up around so much like I've got to lose weight, or I'm on a diet, or this is healthy and there's no crisps or ice cream allowed in the house, that I was like, as soon as I hit an age where I could go to the shop by myself and have my own money, I would buy my own crisps and my own chocolate and my own ice cream, and I would eat them for me. And it was really nice, because it was that like feeling of rebellion that like comes along with being gluttonous. It's like a pushback of like, but you're telling me I can't, so I'm gonna tenfold, you know. And I feel like that was my kind of relationship, is that like everyone around me was so like, and all of my friends were really like petite and like had salad and broccoli.
Starving.
Starving all the time. And like they'd come to mine for tea and would have like 8 chicken nuggets and like 400 grams of pasta with like half a block of cheese on, and like would feel really nice after it, and it'd be like, you know, that's a treat.
Yeah. I know it is. There's something beautiful in it, isn't there? Like when you just think like something really rebellious and indulgent and lovely, like Thelma and Louise when they accidentally kill someone, so then they're like, oh fuck it, we may as well rob a fucking bank, and we may as well get mortal, and we may as well like
Shag
blow up
Brad
this
Pitt.
shag Brad Pitt and blow up this car, and just that
Drive
like
off a cliff.
Spoiler.
Spoiler. Sorry, everyone. I haven't even seen it. I haven't watched that.
Actually not. Have you not?
No, but I know the full storyline.
Can I ask, what is the difference between gluttonous and indulgence?
I feel like indulgence is like, it's like the nice bit of gluttony. But being gluttonous is like the overindulgence. It's like the too much, I think, anyway.
Yeah, it's like the frowned upon version.
Yeah.
Because when people are like indulgent, it's like, oh, you're looking after yourself, you're taking care of yourself. And gluttonous is like, no, God, what a mess.
Do you know what an example might be? You know, on the Galaxy adverts, and they have that nice bar of Galaxy, don't they? And they have it that they take it out the little library drawer and they snap a little piece off and have that, and that'll last them the week. Right? That's indulgence. Gluttony would be the realistic version of that, which is you have half for your tea and you have half before you go to sleep. That's gluttonous, you know? Yeah. Enjoying the whole thing in excess.
Is it almost like, that just sounds like fake indulgence though, isn't it? It's like,
maybe it's like the same thing, and one's a positive spin and one's a negative spin.
Yeah.
One's the church telling you you're disgusting, and one is telling you to spend money because you deserve it.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the other day when we went for bottomless brunch. For people who don't know the concept, the idea is that you get a meal and you'll get about 2 hours or 1.5 hours to drink as much as humanly possible. And
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge, pretty much. So we had a day where we went for bottomless brunch, and then we had about 6 or 7 drinks in 2 hours, I think.
I would say about 8.
I would say about 8 drinks in 2 hours.
I had 4 glasses of Prosecco and 3 cocktails in those 2 hours.
You sure it wasn't 4 cocktails?
Might have been. Might have been.
And we did that. Then we went for another drink. Then we went to do karaoke and then went bowling. And I think it was one of the best days I've had this year. And I think there was something for me that felt really indulgent about it, but also felt really healthy, yeah, and like really carefree. I felt like I let off a lot of steam. I cried to Cher's Believe. in the karaoke room. Yes. And there was something as well about like, I remember talking to Matilda at the bar and I was like, God, it is so nice to have just that little bit more of disposable income to afford it and to not be like, oh, I'll get a pint because it's cheaper than a cocktail, but just being like, no, I want to try that. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. And just going, fuck it. Let's just, we've drank loads. Let's just throw everything at today. And I don't know, I just had the most wonderful time.
And we were home by 9. Bed by 10.
But I just think that's beautiful. Like, I think that is lovely. And I think that life needs to be peppered with days like that, where you just go, fuck it. Instead of counting pennies on how much you spend for your breakfast or whatever. It just feels like only positive. And I just don't think anyone could make us feel guilty for doing that, because it felt like such a healthy thing. Although I was hungover for quite a few days. But, it's all right. But that's because I hadn't drank so much for such a long time, because we'd all been locked in the house. And if there was ever going to be a time I was going to drink in excess, it would be with yous.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, when you are, well, I don't want to speak for everyone, but for me, like when I was a teenager, I just used to be like, I'm going out tonight. I'll deliberately not eat any tea. I'll deliberately buy 3 trebles for a £5. I hope I end up somewhere unfamiliar. I have no plans to get home. Like, I don't care who I end up with. I don't care where I go. I just know that I'm going out tonight and I'll get fucked and just see what happens. Whereas, like, when you get a little bit older, I mean, not that much older, but there's much more, I feel like the gluttony is much more considered than it used to be. It's not so much a free-for-all of, like, see how much I can damage my body or see what I can hoy myself into. It's much more of a considered, like, I am going to go and spend the day with my favourite people in the world, and we'll go somewhere relatively nice and drink relatively nice drinks. And I know to have a pint of water at some point. And I know to make sure, like, I've got a taxi app on my phone so I can get home. And, like, it's things like that. It's I think it is still gluttonous, but I think it's maybe a bit more mindful, maybe.
Mindful gluttony.
I know, which you'd maybe think those things were like mutually exclusive, but...
No, but I agree though, because I feel like I'm very mindful in my gluttony. Like, I love being gluttonous. I love doing everything to the excess. I do it with even just like when I'm describing a story, I'll be like 10 million what's-its, and I'm so like that. Like, it's all or nothing with me, and I'm really like, especially with food, and I really like it. I enjoy being that sort of person who, is exciting and full all the time and stuff.
And why the fuck shouldn't you?
Exactly. It's like the other day when someone said, what if you died hungry? Was that you, Katie?
Yeah. I was just about to say that.
What if you died hungry?
That'd be so sad.
I haven't stopped thinking about it. And this was a while ago. And honestly, I still think about it every day, because I think,
it would be the worst thing ever.
I could die in a minute. And if I'm hungry, I'm going to be upset about it. Whereas if I was full, I'd be like, well, at least I had a bacon sandwich this morning.
I'm ready.
I do want to think about it more like than getting hit by a bus or something. I'm like, if I'm crossing a dangerous road, I'm like, oh, well, I can't die now because I'm hungry. And it'd be awful.
So I best look both ways.
Get a Kit Kat.
Otherwise, I'd just hoy myself out.
It's kind of interesting that, because I don't know about yous, but I used to diet a lot, and I was thinking about it this morning, and the last diet I went on was Weight Watchers. And I was 22, which is 3 years ago, which in some way feels like a lifetime ago, but also feels really quite recent, actually, 3 years ago, to be on Weight Watchers and thinking that cauliflower rice was a really good substitute for rice. And do you remember courgette and like butternut squash spaghetti? And I just think, God, that was horrible. And it's also like, I don't think it's the best.
Is Weight Watchers where you go to the classes? Or where you count points or whatever?
Yeah, so you count points and like kind of so say cauliflower rice is 0.
Normal rice
because
is
anyone wants
5
it.
or something.
Yeah, normal rice would be 5. But it would be strange things. So like soya milk would be like 2 points, but dairy milk would be none. It was really weird because you'd think it'd be the other way around. I don't really know how they work it out.
Maybe they're sponsored by
Cows.
Sponsored by cows.
I think part of what was strange about the diet was that you would follow kind of, say you had like 21 points in a day, and you could have like, you had like 40 extra points that you could kind of just blow off. So say you just wanted to go get a pizza once a week, you could just do that.
What, like 40 extra points for the week?
Yeah. So like if you went over or something, or like...
It just seems a bit pointless to me. Why don't you just have nice food and enjoy it?
Exactly. And that's how I live my life now.
Oh yeah, I think that's how everyone should live their life.
I feel like I look back on it now and I'm like, oh, that's so far from how I live my life now. Like I just could never imagine dieting ever again. And I think it's just so unhelpful. And it's what I found really strange is I've lost a bit of weight completely by accident. It was mostly because of the lockdown and I was just bored, so I started to exercise loads because there was nothing else to do apart from Joe Wicks. And not literally, but
I've done Joe Wicks.
and yeah, there was just nothing else to do, so I just started to exercise a bit more. And I just sort of, I don't know, I didn't massively change my eating habits. I don't think I have. I probably have, but yeah. And anyway, I've kind of just lost weight by accident. And now kind of what's felt strange was when I was dieting and people would say, oh, you've lost weight, you look amazing. I'd be like, oh, thanks. And now, because I've lost weight by accident and people comment, I'm a bit like, oh, okay, I didn't mean to. Or if people say I look nice, so I've lost weight or whatever. But it was a bit like, I don't know how to respond.
The thing I find a bit unsettling's a word I've used quite a lot. Maybe I'm just constantly unsettled by everything. But something I do find unsettling is when people do lose weight, people always react positively to it.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, you look amazing. Like, oh, you must have been, working on yourself and being dead healthy. And it's weird because it's almost always seen as like a positive thing for that person who has lost it, which is interesting. Because I know, like, if I lost a stone, like 75 middle-aged women that I know distantly will come up to me and be like, you look amazing. Well done.
What have you been doing?
Yeah.
Tell us your secret.
Which is just a bit strange, and I wonder why we've come to... Because surely, like, back in the day, when everything was grim and we were all cavemen, like, if your fellow caveman lost a bit of weight, you'd be like, oh, he's having a horrible time. Like, he hasn't killed any mammoths. Like, he hasn't, he's struggling there. But now it's like, oh, look at you doing well for yourself.
Do you want to know why I think that's the case?
Yes.
Why is it?
Because... do you remember in like the 90s and the early 2000s, there was that like supermodel phase? Well, I feel like off the back of that, there's like this whole fat phobia thing that like, you see a fat person and, people who are larger like to reclaim that word, just like queer folk have, because being fat is seen as a bad thing and it's like disgusting or ugly or whatever. Whereas actually like, it was very much celebrated at a certain point in history with the, like, the larger you are, the more lustrous your life is and how, you've got good food and good wine and like, you don't have to move anywhere and do anything. And it's like, that's the dream now. But like, it's still seen as in the media of like, you know, you still get like page 3 on The Sun, and it's like all these celebrities in bikinis, and they're all like sat down normally, but they're like, look at the rolls on, they're disgusting. And it's like, no, they're fine, they're normal bodies. It's like this whole like airbrush culture as well. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I wish like my sister's dead funny, and like she'll always say like she wishes that like weight equals wealth, like how it used to. Like if you look at like old portraits of like, I don't know, like kings and aristocratic people, like they're always like, they're not rake thin, they're always a bit larger.
Henry VIII.
Henry the fucking eighth. Like,
For one.
but like back in the day, you would look at that and be like, they're so wealthy, like they're eating really well, and they're like in a good class of people. So I wish it was more like that, and you could just pile it on.
I was going to say, I think an interesting example is Adele. Do you know when Adele quite recently lost a lot of weight, and what I think I found strange about it was everyone felt the need to comment on it. And actually, this is a woman who's going through a breakup, which is awful, but also it's her body at the end of the day, and it felt like as a society we all had an opinion on it. And I don't know, that makes me quite uncomfortable actually, that we feel that in some way we have to, like, it's just a body. Like, why do we need to have an opinion or a comment or a thought about it?
There's definitely like a societal obsession with it at the minute, because I've noticed like if you go down your Facebook feed, like the Daily Mirror will have an article of Adele goes out for a walk looking super slim, and it's like she's coming back from Morrison's. And then you go down again and it's The Sun, like Adele has gone to walk her dog in the local dog park looking super skinny, and it's like, just leave her alone. But clearly people want to see Adele has lost loads of weight, let's have a look. Like, it's odd. And
I feel like we are lucky in the kind of job that we do and the people that we like meet, where people are quite like woke about weight now being none of anybody else's business.
Yeah.
That like I like when it suddenly pops up on your Facebook or whatever, it's like quite jarring, because I'm just around yous all the time who are like,
nice,
you're beautiful, eat whatever you want, let's go somewhere lovely for tea. And it's just all like fine. And then it is jarring when it like creeps up on you and you're like, shit, people still go on like that, don't they? And actually like, we're lucky to have each other and have a job where people are much more accepting and mind their own business.
I definitely think, like, I think we've spoken about it before, but like as a kid, when your mum used to get like Heat magazine and all these different magazines, and I remember like once she'd finished, I would like go through as like a little child and be like, oh, look at all the pretty women. But then there would be like sections where it's like, oh, Mariah Carey's looking fat, cellulite on the beach. And it's like, oh, like I don't know, like someone's just had a baby and she's in a bikini. Oh, brave.
Yeah.
And it was like filling your little childish mind full of like this viewpoint on women, and it's so warped, isn't it?
Yeah, like I know when because I temp a lot, and it's really interesting because I'm often paired up with a lovely middle-aged lady. That just always seems to be the the case. Lovely Fiona or Christine or whatever. I always end up sitting next to them. And how much more prevalent diet culture still is in office environments is really like interesting, and I feel I feel separate enough from it that I can join in without feeling I think anyway, I might be wrong, it might be really damaging us, but I feel like I can put on the front that people want from us in those places where they'll go like, oh, I was at Weight Watchers and oh, I lost a stone, and oh, do you want one of these skinny whips? They're only 20 calories and oh, look at you in that dress, you skinny bitch. And so I feel like I can kind of join in enough to be like, oh, that's great, or oh, lovely, or oh, you burned 500 calories on your dog walk this morning, great. Like, I feel like I can do that because it's what's kind of expected of you.
All I've had today is a Rolo McFlurry and a sugar-free Red Bull.
That's a lot for you, babe. Is everything all right?
Oh yeah, I'm just eating now so I don't get hungry in front of Dan tonight. He's taking me for dinner, but I'm just going to order loads of little things instead of one big thing so I don't look like a cow.
I read that you should always carry a massive bag with you on dates to make you look more petite.
That's genius. I think I've still got me D&V rucksack.
Do you want to hear about my lunch?
Aye, go on.
I'm on the full breath diet. It's where you take a really big breath and once your mouth is completely full with air, you just swallow it down. It totally works. So I'm having 3 full breaths for lunch and then 5 for tea. And honestly, I don't need anything else.
Bella, that is stunning.
I know. I want to be thinner than Crouchy Michael's comb over by the Christmas party.
Lasses, I'm foaming.
How then? What went wrong?
Well, I was just going for my office jog and I saw Irish Mark talking to Horsey Leanne by the vending machine.
That bitch.
I know, it's so unfair. This is like when I found out Tom Daly was gay all over again.
Oh, babe. Maybe you just feel sorry for her because she has bread with her soup.
They looked pretty cosy to me. She was touching his arm and laughing with her tits. And they were sharing a packet of Skips, which was totally our thing.
Oh, babe, that's so Shan. What did you do?
I pretended to have a diabetic fit and he bought us a toffee crisp. Which was fine because it's mostly air.
Good thinking.
It is always fun to see them concerned.
I'm going to have to step up my game if I want to compete with Horsey Leanne though. You know our mum's in a coma and she gets travel sick. She's so lucky.
Oh, babe, she's got nothing on you and your IVF.
IBS.
Either way.
Aww. Yous are such good friends.
Aye. I'm going to go make a cuppa just to look at. Do you want one?
Aye, go on then.
I think it's weird, like, I find it more of like a generational thing. Like, I feel like our parents and like people who are like 40 to 50 to 60, like that age upwards, they're kind of more warped into it. And I don't know if that's because in the 80s, 90s and 2000s, they were older and they were at like kind of like the age where they might actually be thinking more about what they look like or how they are or who they are or whatever. Whereas like we were like babies then when all of that was going on, and although that might be even more damaging, I feel like because it is more damaging, we've kind of been like, actually I want to step away from that. I don't want to be involved in that anymore. It's like I was told I was obese when I was in year 4 in primary school.
I'm laughing, but that's
it's hilarious.
dreadful.
I know. So there's like, they came in and they did like BMI for everyone. I'm like,
they loved that for a while.
yeah,
didn't they?
in
BMI.
primary school.
BMI.
Ridiculous. So I was obese at that age, even though I did dancing almost every single day of the week. I had, the normal amount of food a day. I was just a big lass, and that was fine because I was in year 4. But I remember it like it being a thing, and like I got bullied in school for being like fat or like ugly or whatever, and it was always like a thing. And I feel like because it was always a thing, I've kind of stepped into it and been like, and like I like food, I like having a nice time. It doesn't mean I'm unhealthy. It just means that I like food and I like the way I look. And I think that's the other thing, is that now there's more of like a culture of just body acceptance rather than like body shaming or like being fat or skinny or whatever. It's just, listen, this is what I've got, so this is what I'm going to work with. And if I want to have, a nice drink or a nice meal that has lots of carbohydrates and potatoes, then that's fine, because you're allowed, because it's your body and do whatever the fucking hell you want with it.
I think body acceptance is so important. I almost think it's actually more important than body positivity.
Yeah, I
think
agree.
Body positivity can be a bit like, oh, love your cellulite.
Yeah.
You have to love everything about you, when actually...
It's exhausting.
Exactly, it's exhausting. And I think also you're allowed to hate your legs or hate your tits or whatever. Like, that's also okay, because we're all part of this societal patriarchal structure. Of course, you're not going to like everything about you. And I think body acceptance feels so healthy.
And
I think
easier,
and
more accessible.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I think it has the almost like the knock-on effect of like, if you're not hating yourself, you're probably less likely to attack your body with stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like if it's more of a, I suppose I was saying before, when it's like a considered choice and like I'm class and will enjoy this and this is a choice to do what the fuck I want, you're less likely to sort of like, you know, I'll eat 10 packets of this because I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So like, I'll eat 2 packets and enjoy every minute of it.
And it's also that conscious thing of being like, actually, you know what? I had 6 takeaways last week, so this week I'm gonna have a bit more veg.
Yeah.
You know, it's that like balance of like I'm allowed to eat what I want because I like myself that much enough to allow myself to do that because, you know, I'm smart and clever and all that.
Yeah.
But then also like looking after yourself in the sense it's like, because I like myself, I'm gonna just, you know, make sure I have some carrots this week.
Totally.
Catherine Ryan, comedian, I love loads. She always asks herself in terms of food, she always says, have I had enough? Which I think is really interesting because she's like, have I had enough vitamins? Have I had enough water today? Actually, I'm really tired. Have I had enough sugar? And rather than being like, oh, I've had too much, I need to cut back. What? Because also it's, you know, if you have like a massive takeaway, you're like, oh, actually, have I had enough vegetables? Have I had enough of this? And I think that's a healthier way to look at it. Have I had enough?
I like that.
Yeah, that's nice. Have I had enough treats lately?
Yeah.
Or have I been too, like,
Too
stingy?
healthy.
Yeah. I being in Spain a couple of weeks ago, seeing all of the families on the beach, and I haven't been on holiday for a couple of years, obviously, and seeing hundreds of normal people in their bikinis, seeing lovely 84-year-old women.
Oh, lovely.
Just in their knickers.
Lovely.
With like their grandkids who've got little bellies and are eating sandwiches and like it's just absolutely lush. And I realised how starved we are of seeing other people's bodies in this country because it's fucking freezing all the time. All we see is bodies on Love Island. We don't see our pals' bodies or our family's bodies ever really because it's too cold. And just being there and nobody was self-conscious because they go to the beach all day every day and have done for 80 years. So why would they now be shy of what their body looks like? And the first day I went to the beach, I was a bit like, what? Like watching everyone and sort of being impressed by it. But then even by the second day, I was like, oh, couldn't give a fuck. I'm not looking at anyone else. I'm not looking at my own body or anything. I'm just at the beach. It's lovely.
Just having a nice time.
And so I wonder like if that's our sort of natural state.
It's really
Like how quickly I
interesting.
got used to it. I was like, well, maybe this is just how we're all supposed to crack on without judging.
It's so like taboo and like frowned upon to be like naked, isn't it though? Like everything's like, oh well, you go in this part of change and like you wrap your towel around you and you don't come out until like even going to the spa or the sauna or whatever, like you usually like I have hardly ever been in the spa or the sauna, but you usually like
Now, what kind of life are you living? Every time I'm at the spa.
no, but like you see on the telly or whatever that like people they have their robes on, don't they? And then they take them off when they've just got in somewhere, rather than like, you know, just walking around and just getting changed. It's like not a big deal in a lot of other cultures, but like English, British culture, it's like this huge thing, like modesty and like privacy and I guess that's like, it's completely going off topic, but I guess that's kind of why like, you know, sex workers and things are shamed, is because it's like it's about body and like strippers and well dancers and you know, things like that. It's all seen as like a big thing and it's all disgusting and you should keep it to yourself and that's for the bedroom. And it's like, why can't we just like love ourselves and love our bodies and just accept them and make money off them and
Do what you want with
do
them.
what you want with them.
Yeah.
It's yours, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I think especially like as people with breasts need to celebrate that. Free the nipple.
Yeah.
Free the nipple.
Free the nipple.
I think in our line of work, to say that again, I think we, I I think quite a lot. You just have to get changed in front of complete strangers and no one's really bothered with, like, I don't know, in the arts you kind of do, don't you? You sometimes just have to take your clothes off in front of a room full of people.
We never have a dressing room, really.
No, don't
like,
do
I
it.
think we've
Normally
had
in
a
a
dressing room,
corridor,
we've had like a dressing room twice, haven't we?
A car park.
Genuinely, exactly the amount of times I've all had to just get changed and handle it, and it's fine. And then I find I do actually think it's quite funny in some ways, like, because you're so sort of used to it. You're not, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but like, I don't feel very shy because you've done it. It's just part of it almost. And like a few jobs that I've done recently, I think after the whole Me Too thing, people are so extra careful with you. So like,
bubble wrap.
yeah, and good, obviously, but also like, it's funny. Like I did this filming thing and had to be in bed with a bra on, and everyone was like, but only if you're comfortable though, and are you all right, and do you want anything, and we'll make sure everyone's off the set, and don't worry about it, and we'll make sure there's women there with towels, and we've got jumpers for you if there's ever a break. And I was like, it's fucking fine, man, like
Fine.
it's the same as like wearing a bikini top or something. Like, can everyone calm down? It's not a big deal.
I always feel like that at the, like, do you know when you go to the doctors or you go to get your bra fitted and they'll like put a sheet up.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you're about to look inside of us. Like, like
sailed,
what do you
honestly.
think? What do you think's going? It's so strange. And you go to like it's really weird. They like almost don't want to watch you get undressed in some places. It's so bizarre.
Like, is that more intimate than seeing me cervix? Like watching this tape.
I've never even thought about that. Like when I've been the doctors and they've been like, take your clothes off, we'll leave. And then it's like, get on the table and have your legs as wide as possible.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the point of you leaving the room? That's just blown my mind.
I find that more stressful because I find it like a race. Like I have to get all my clothes off and get on the bed and get comfortable before they come back in because they don't want to see us. So I'm like,
I sometimes have to like, do you know when you go and get like a wax or something? I'm always like, I'll lie on the bed naked or like just my bottoms up.
Naked.
I'm ready, baby.
fully nude.
I have to be like, I'm done. Because I get so nervous. Like, what if I'm left? What if they've gone for like their lunch? Like, I'm just sat here like with me cervix out. It's strange, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? And yeah, if everyone could just be, if there was a bit more nakedness, people would maybe not be so uptight about it. But I wonder if that's another, again, maybe a bit of a generation thing. Like when I was working in school, it was when everyone was doing the lateral flow tests. And you had to do 2 a week, and I was just getting them out at my desk and just quickly doing it, and it was fine. But then I remember a couple of the like elderly, I say elderly, that's really rude, older members of the faculty would like make a big thing about like, oh God, it's so embarrassing, it's so disgusting, and I need a private room to oh God,
Get a grip.
That's where I'm
Get a
going.
grip.
But women who were like had like quite powerful jobs.
Weird.
And I was like, what? Because you're going to gag on the thing? Why is that embarrassing? You know what I mean? And I just wonder if maybe like our generation are maybe a bit less modest.
I feel like we are.
I feel like when we did lateral flow tests, we had a competition to see who could gag the least.
And that determined who got lust.
I'm starving.
Looks good on you though.
I bought this dress from Gap Kids. Buzzing.
I would probably fit into children's clothes, but my tits are just too big. Christmas lasses!
Billy, where the fuck have you been?
You know I pulled a sickie for that bottomless brunch.
We haven't seen you for 3 weeks.
Your mum was on BBC Look North.
No, should just said that for attention.
Oh, fair. Don't look now, yous, but Horsey Leanne has just gone in for a second plate of cocktail sausages.
Where is her self-restraint? Did you win Irish Mark back off of her, by the way?
Oh yeah. We shagged last night after Christmas jumper day. I wore my slutty Grinch costume especially.
No way. How was it?
It was kind because he lives with his mum, and she gets jealous of any women in the house that aren't her, and I think it's brought my thrush back.
I told you, Bridget, you just need to use Greek yogurt.
Greek yogurt though, it's really fatty.
I think there's a strawberry munch bunch in the staff room fridge.
Oh, perfect. I'll see you in a bit. When I get back, I might see if Irish Mark is up for round 2.
If HR Helen tries to get me to join her raffle, I swear I will ruin her marriage.
Haven't you already shagged her son?
And his son. This party is just so boring. I bet half the people here have never even heard of rose gold.
Do you want a line? Could spice things up a bit. I owe you for that bottle of Fanta.
Aye, but I don't really want to snort it because of the calories. Do you reckon we could make it into a hand cream?
Aye, I'll mix a bit into me lip balm.
Oh, lush.
So, we've just talked about a lot of the positives of gluttony and excess and indulgence. And I think that freeness as well, like, it is so part of gluttony. Does anyone think they've got any negatives about gluttony, like when it can be a bad thing?
The only time where I feel bad about being gluttonous is when sometimes on a night time when I've had far too much to eat. Like I'll have a full meal, then I'll have me half a packet of chocolate digestives, then I'll have like a Kit Kat and a penguin and maybe a bag of crisps, and like I'll just keep going. And that happens sometimes when I feel like shit or I'm a bit hungover. This happened the other night when I was hungover. And the next morning when you wake up and you just feel gross. Like, you know, when you wake up and your whole body's like, I need a shit, and like to let all of this wind out and all of that. That's the only negative for me that I find is like when my body kind of like rejects itself and it's like, Howie, like look after us, please. And I'm like, okay, I'll look after you today. Don't worry, pet. You know, that's the only negative for me.
Yeah, I was speaking to my boyfriend the other week about... Do you know when you go on Instagram and stuff and it's like, oh, be kind to yourself and stuff like that? And I was talking to him the other day because I think I was quite a skint teenager. So I was just like, oh, I'll just get like a bag of crisps and whatever. And now that I've got a bit of money, like, well, I don't, but you know, more than I had, I'm like, I just go to town, like I just buy too much and I don't end up eating it. So I was saying to him the other day that like, instead of like be kind to yourself all over my Instagram, I need to see like be a cunt to yourself all over my Instagram sometimes. Because I'm like,
stop treating yourself.
Definitely like in the past couple of years, I've started doing like the, I've like, do you know what, Brogan? You had a difficult morning. You go get yourself a full English. And all I've done is like walk the dog and get up and breathe. And I'm like, I'm too like that now, which is maybe a negative thing of being gluttonous. Because now I am like, I'm too nice to myself sometimes, where I just think that I'm just owed a lot of nice things. When really I don't think I have worked hard 90% of the time. So that's my input.
I am shattered.
I'm absolutely
Work
shattered.
for 10 minutes. Shall we have a cup of tea? I think the word gluttony is in the negative category in my head for some reason. Even though, like, I know I was saying, I think of like Nigella and it's lovely, but I think like the word gluttonous in relation to myself, I feel guilt straight away when I think of that. And I think I can eat more than most people I've ever met, to be honest. And I'm always tricked in other people saying they eat a lot or they love food or whatever. And then it turns out they fucking don't.
I know exactly what you mean.
I think like...
I know exactly what you mean.
Oh, thanks, you. I feel really heard. Thank you. I feel so seen.
I'm like, preach, sis.
Yeah. I'm like, bullshit. You've lulled us into a false sense of security here, thinking I'd found a kindred spirit and we were going to eat loads together, but you've stopped eating halfway through. And now I just feel shit about myself. So I think I feel guilt around it because I know that if there is lots of food in front of us, I won't be able to stop until none of it's there anymore. But in other people, I really think it's something to celebrate. Like when I see other people enjoying themselves, I'm like, oh, good for you. That's lovely. It's
funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I have a thing where, like, unless it's like lovely food, I'd rather just not eat it, if that makes sense. Like when I'm like, oh, there's nothing nice in for lunch, so I just won't have anything. Because I'm like, I'd rather not eat than have like something that's going to make us sad and depressed.
Like mediocre.
Yeah. I'd rather not bother. So the other day it was lunchtime and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go and buy some sushi because I'm hungry, and if I don't eat something nice, I won't eat anything. And I just had a thought of like, what if this is what I choose to spend my money on? And what if instead of feeling sick with guilt, thinking about me mum and me grandma who, you know, all just had like some seeds for lunch or, you know, like some kind of like leftover bovril or whatever, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Something really like stoic and like, you know, because we're all from the north and you should be like, everything should be a bit bleak. Like, what if I made the choice of, you know what, I'm going to buy myself a really nice lunch every day and really enjoy it. I can. And if that's what I choose to be important to me, then is having a nice lunch every day.
Yeah, that's important, yeah.
But then I suppose that's less gluttonous in a foodie way, and it's more gluttonous in the financial sense of that is a lot of money to spunk on lunch every day. But you know, if that's my choice,
if that's the only thing you're spending lots of money on,
and you earned that money,
that's
your money,
and on my deathbed, am I going to be sad? Talking about death, food and death are always related, aren't they?
You'll be full.
I'll be full. And will I be like, oh, I feel so bad that I bought myself a nice lunch every day?
Yeah,
probably won't be.
You wouldn't. No.
Food is fuel.
Food is fuel.
I think my negative of gluttony is slightly different. I always struggle with indulging too much in my own thoughts and in my own brain. I think we all sit with our own brains a lot. And I think sometimes when you're going through something difficult, like whatever, it's good to be sad. And I think it's really good to allow yourself a few days to be really, really upset. But also it's how much do you do that? And I think there is such a fine line between kind of feeling sorry for yourself and having a bit of a wallow. I think it's quite important to do that. I really do. I think it's important to feel those things and just feel everything. But I also think it's like, actually, how far do you take that and when do you start to crack on again? And obviously if you're going through something big, it's hard and you kind of can't crack on all the time. And I think it is such an interesting balance and a difficult one to get right.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be somewhere in the middle, hasn't it? Because like, I don't want to be a cliche of a millennial. You know, I'm the first person who's ever felt sadness. I'm going to wank on about it and build a personality out of it and drag everyone down with us. I don't want to do that. But then I also don't want to be stiff upper lip of like, I'm really sad. But, you know, chin up, crack on, unlucky, deal with it, and just repress that until I take it out on me kids in 10 years' time. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's like it's somewhere in the middle, isn't it? Where like, I think feeling your emotions is a very brave thing to do. I think the easiest thing to do is to shove it out the way. And I think actually feeling them, being like, well, I'm a human and humans feel sad and humans feel lonely, so I'm going to feel it. But yeah, where do you draw the line of like, I'm indulging this now and I'm actually getting a bit of a kick out of it. And it's maybe time to remember that other people have it worse.
I think it like shifts your viewpoint on the world as well. Like if you're kind of stuck in your thoughts for a while and then you go about your normal day and say like a man cuts in front of you when you're crossing the road, it's like, God, this always happens to me. Yeah. It's like me and my sadness. And then you go for like a packet of crisps and your flavour isn't there. It's like, oh, the world, relentless, taking it out on me. So it's like, it's hard, isn't it? Because I know it's like, it's when to switch off, isn't it, from
Yeah.
being in your sad bubble kind of thing. I don't know.
I don't think there is an answer either. And I don't think you ever find a middle ground. I think you can try, and I think most of us probably sometimes sit in either camp. But
But I do think that it is a kind of gluttony.
I feel like you could be gluttonous in almost anything, really.
Yeah.
Like, I find it interesting that the definition of it is surrounded by like food and drink as opposed to like thoughts and sex and money. But I guess money's more greed, but you can still overindulge yourself in your money to the point where you make yourself broke, which is what I do quite a lot. Like, and I feel like the answer is just moderation, really. And like, but also moderation, but also treat yourself at the same time. Like, don't be afraid to like make yourself feel good with whatever you want to do in excess, but at the same time, don't do it so much that you make yourself ill or that you make yourself more sad because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Do you think it's because it's the reasons you're doing it? Like, you know, when like people get addicted to stuff and it's because they're using it to fill a hole or to mask something.
yeah,
Maybe,
I think a lot of like alcoholics, they sort of say it's like you can look at like say Newcastle, where we've got a great student culture. They'll drink more than some alcoholics will, but it's the reason that you drink. It's not the alcohol, and it's not the amount either. And it's the reason that you pick up the bottle.
Also, like, I think one of the reasons why I like do overindulge quite a lot is like with the ADHD and stuff, it's like scientifically it's about like the dopamine and stuff, and people with ADHD and who are neurodiverse, we have like lower levels of dopamine, but also we want to access them more. So like our brain is constantly searching to find the next thing that's going to make us happy or excited or something. And for me, that's food and nice things. And, you know, a sunny day is like, wow, dopamine. I love it. Like, I want to be outside and like get a tan. And, you know, I get really excited about it. And for me, I think it is that I've put a lot of my like, you know, I get pleasure out of eating chocolate and having 3 croissants for me breakfast. Like, I get pleasure out of it. It sets my day up so that I can have a nice day, because that's like, you know, made my brain go, oh, this is nice, I like it. And then so I can go, oh, this is nice, I like it for the rest of the day, because my brain's had that like that dopamine surge of like nice food and stuff. Yeah. So I guess I can't help it because I've got ADHD. So I have to eat food.
Fair. Yeah, you do you.
as well, like as neurodivergent people, we're like, I feel like you get quite overwhelmed quite quickly as well.
Yeah.
And I love my brain because I think it can feel so chaotic, but I think that's brilliant but terrifying.
Yeah.
And kind of getting so I have dyslexia, so it's kind of what I struggle with is kind of getting these lovely, wonderful, chaotic thoughts onto a piece of paper. Yeah. But I also never want to get rid of how wonderful those chaotic thoughts are. And I think neurodivergence is. Thank you for bringing that into the conversation.
You're welcome.
So, as part of the Match Made in 7 podcast, we kind of looked at the original definition of gluttony, which comes from the Latin word to gulp or to swallow. And the definition is habitual greed or excess in eating. And as part of the podcast, we wanted to kind of re-establish a new definition for gluttony. From the chat today, is there anything that's kind of stood out to people?
I feel like a general theme is just kind of like, do what you want when you want and don't really care about who has an opinion about it. Like
that's going to be for all of them, isn't it? Isn't it?
Do what you want.
Do what you want.
You do you, hun.
Gluttony's a hard one, I think.
I feel like it's like excess in anything, you know, because we've talked about more than just food and drink. It's not just about that anymore, is it? It's like it's about anything. You can overindulge in absolutely anything you want.
Maybe like knowing your own limit. Like maybe other people don't know your own limit and you do know your own limit. So have faith in like how much you can eat.
Yeah.
And how much is, gonna give you the shits tomorrow.
Yeah.
So maybe have faith in the fact that you know your own limits.
Aye.
That was shit.
No, that's
No,
good.
it's true.
That's nice.
It's kind of going past your own limit though, isn't it? It's like know your own limit and then some.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Know your own limit.
Know your own limit.
And a bit more.
Yeah. And
Give you room
then,
to play.
yeah.
Yeah. I quite like anything in excess is a laugh.
Anything in excess.
Yes, that could be our tattoo. I would have that. I think that would be funny.
For reference, we all love each other so much that we want to get matching tattoos.
We've been talking about it for about 5 years and still never done
first
it.
range.
Still never done it. So maybe a bit indulgent of our friendship to do that.
But I'll throw that in the bucket
Yeah.
of ideas.
Ooh. Isn't Eve eating the apple the original sin?
It is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, biblically, yeah. I think as well, everyone has it. I think everyone has all of the sins in some amount, but I think gluttony feels really inherent and it feels quite important. And I think to have a vice and to let loose, I think is really, really important. And I've met people who don't like letting loose and will only have like one Prosecco and they just don't seem very happy. So for gluttony, we have 2 new definitions. So we've got you do you, hun, and then some, and anything in excess is a laugh.
Hey.
There we go.
Beautiful.
There we go. I think they're lovely new definitions, and I think we should live by them.
Yeah.
Contacting the Catholic Church.
I'm messaging the Pope right now.
Mr. Pope.
We have actually got a direct line.
Got a direct line to heaven, actually.
I was baptised and confirmed.
Me too.
All right. I don't know what that means.
I can confirm Lydia is here.
Lush. So, thanks so much for listening.
See you later.
Thanks, Lydia. Bye.
Thanks, Lydia.
Thank you for coming.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you
Bye.
later.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
See you
Bye.
later. Bye. Bye.
Watch how you go. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Match Made in 7. Join us next Monday when we'll be taking on Envy. Subscribe to our channel to be the first to listen. You can find the accompanying playlist to this episode on our Spotify. Just search Your Aunt Fanny. We're also at Your Aunt Fanny on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Sound design and music by Jeremy Bradfield.